Evil Dead the game, Castle Kandar loot location tier list. We got all the little loot locations ready to go down here, and we are going to hop in game and take a tour of each location to give you an idea of what it looks like, where the loot spawns, and why it's good or why it isn't good. So let's jump right into it. First up here, we've got Gold Tooth Homestead. We got a cool little scarecrow right here. He looks pretty cool. On a blue objective, Dagger Pages will spawn here fairly often, so just keep that in mind. Fairly often. Nice voice crack. I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm just going to live with it. If you look at here, it's got actually pretty decent loot spawns. I actually picked up some loot from this table and this table as well, because I'm currently on the new exploration mode, and I'm actually going to need weapons because units actually spawn on this mode. But you can see you got a nice amulet here. Decent amount of loot will spawn here. Decent amount of chests, as you can see. There's one right here. You can come out here, and it's nice that you can actually vault this. So this actually turns this into a fairly like safe location, because then that means if you come all the way out here and you get cornered, you can go ahead and vault that, and the demon is it's gonna take him 45 minutes to get around. So very, very safe loot location, as long as you make sure to use this and vault over it to get away from the demon. And then down here, a little bit further south, we have this little watch out for those trees. We have this little shack here. This is another really good loot location. Very, very safe. Both windows are very safe. This one in particular is ridiculously safe. The only thing you got to watch out for, obviously, is that tree. But you also have this one if you need it. Also, keep in mind, by the way, when you're vaulting windows, if there's an item that's like near the window, it's going to prioritize picking up the item over actually like vaulting the window. So that's just something to keep in mind, and because it could get you killed if you're not careful.
Demon hunting time.
I probably should have just done like the regular mode. There would be less units to deal with.
Surprise for you in the work shed.
You'll see when we get to Castle Kandar too, but Castle Kandar, you actually have to fight Evil Ash too. So I actually have to make sure to loot a gun. As you can see, another nice little chest spawn out here. So overall, this area, it seems like there's not a whole lot here. This is probably one of the better loot areas in the game. I might revisit this when we come back here. For now, I'm going to put it in A tier. This could be an S tier location, because a lot of the locations on this map are really, really bad. Now, I will say there is a ton of survivor loot on this map. A ton. But a lot of the locations on this map are super, super unsafe. So just ranking it like purely off of that, that area, this area. What am I saying? The Castle Kandar itself is like super unsafe, for instance. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But next up is the Windmill, the big old Windmill. I believe this is the Windmill where in Army of Darkness he fights the little evil ashes, by the way. Really nice loot around here. Watch out for that tree. It got me again. Watch out for that tree. There's a really nice window right here. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that that is the only window in this area. So like, if the whole team needs to use it, it's only wide enough for one person to get through it. So you gotta be careful with that and not wind up getting caught and kind of getting one of your teammates killed. I've actually had that happen before, where like demon was in here, had a flautist hidden up there somewhere. Nobody was shooting it for whatever reason. So then everybody just tried to bail, and then whoever got caught last was getting stabbed in the back by a possessed unit. So just keep that in mind. It's also weird you don't start with collections, by the way, that you don't have any of your collections or abilities or anything when you're playing in exploration mode. That's kind of weird. So really good loot in here, as you can see. Lots of ammo everywhere, lots of healing items. This map it's super abundant just in general. really wide open spaces. You can see really well. There's not like a bunch of tight corridors where you can hide a flautist in a place where it's difficult to find it. So overall, really nice loot location. I think that this is honestly, and again, I could revisit this later in the video, so stick around. But I think this is an S tier location. I think it might be the lone S tier location on this map. We'll see. Again, maybe that gold tooth will move up as we go through here, but Windmill's a really, really nice location. I do know that this location over here is pretty decent because it's got, where'd this guy learn to drive? It's got lots of nice windows. The loot here though is not great, at least in this building. This building right here doesn't have great loot. I know that it can sometimes have like chest spawns, like here's one right here. It's chest spawns here pretty often. I can't believe 2 chests spawn right next to each other like that. That's kind of crazy. But nice windows here, not super safe. I mean, any window's a nice window, but like if you vault this, you know, the demon can get around and hit you. Not easily, but it's just something to keep in mind. Really, really sick windows here. So these windows are absolutely nuts. Like there's no way for the demon to get around if you need to escape. So like really, you could say this entire area, this top left corner, is a really nice looting area for survivors because it's all very, very safe. It's got a decent amount of loot. This area, not as much. This room is the best room for sure. It's got really like high loot volume. There's lots of stuff just all over the place, as you can see. And then there's lots of chests that spawn around here, which is really nice. And then last is this little building over here. Watch out for that tree. It's going to get me. Okay, it didn't. All right, cool. Decent amount of loot here. And again, another really, really nice window. And then we got a car spawn right there, which is also very nice. Chest spawns here like every single game, I swear. So that area also excellent. I would put Vengeance Village in A tier. Next up, what do we got? We got Pox Pond. Pox Pond, not great. Pox Pond, kind of poopy. So watch out for that guy there. We got a supply crate there. There's the Delta over there. No windows, as you can see. There's a trap sitting right there, which is not good. So Pox Pond is really, really bad. The one decent loot area is this big boy right up here. I've looted this a few times. It's got a lot of ammo that typically spawns right here. So if you're like playing a hunter and you're ever short on ammo, you can run up here a little bit, and there's a decent amount of ammo that'll spawn here if you're short on it. But you do have to be careful because it could be very easy to get stuck up there. Nice shot. It can be very easy to get stuck up there. And this area just in general is like not very safe. There's not a whole lot of places to like retreat to. Very easy to get caught. I will say if you need to, one thing that I've kind of learned is that like this area in particular, watch out for that trap. Man, dude, I'm so sick right now that I like can't function. You could use an area like this to kind of kite a possession if you need to. I've done it before in a match where like possessions usually have a hard time like turning. So I just like run like this, especially like necro basics. They have a hard time turning for some reason. So I've kited long enough for their possession to end on an area like that. So just keep that in mind. That's a last resort option if you need it, since there's not really any windows around here for you to safely retreat to. So Pox Pond. Pox Pond's not awful, but it's not great. So I'm going to go ahead and put Pox Pond C tier. And now it's time for the big boy. Castle Kandar itself. Castle Kandar is very difficult to judge. It's probably going to be the most heavily debated loot area that I ever do. I mean, I can't predict the future. I don't know what they're going to do for like future maps or anything like that, but the dark ones, by the way, typically spawn around Castle Kandar. It can spawn in other locations, but there's a dark one spawn right there. I believe there's a dark one spawn over near the back of the castle, over here, right in this area. So dark ones do spawn here quite a bit. Now, the reason that this place is so controversial is because it's so big that it technically has more loot than any other location in the entire game, but it's massive. There's almost nowhere safe for you to avoid the demon if the demon catches you here. There's tons of choke points and it's really easy to get lost. So that's why I think the majority of the time, if you spawn here, you just want to get out. Loot what you can really quickly and then get out of here, because this is where games go to die. This is how you lose games as the survivor. And by the way, Castle Kandar itself is so big, it actually technically counts as 3 different locations. It considers Ye Olde S Market, Castle Kandar Keep, and the castle walls as 3 separate locations, which means the map pieces can spawn at these locations, and you'll see it in your objective to the top right. It'll tell you like, oh, the map piece is in Ye Olde S Market, like this specific area of the castle. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to count the entire Castle Kandar map as one loot location. We're not going to like separate them because it's really all the same. The whole area is basically the same. You could go up these big like spirals here, and typically at the top of some of these they have a one of the super new loot chests that's like green and pops out good items and gives you healing items and stuff like that. As you can see, Evil Ash just spawned, because that's a thing in exploration mode for some reason. So let me just kill this nerd real quick, just so he doesn't follow me.
Ugly son of a bitch was getting under my skin.
All right. That's not a possessed tree. One of the dagger pages, I think, can spawn around this area as well. In here, I think this is maybe, let me check. I think this is what I'm talking about. This map, this area is very confusing. It's so many of the areas look identical. It's really easy to get lost. One thing to keep in mind though is that there isn't a ton of infernal energy in this area. So like if the demon does catch you up here, they're not going to be able to do much outside of like, you know, possess one basic. So if you take care of that, or, you know, get out of the area, you should be fine, because they're not going to be able to spam you with a bunch of stuff. So I think if you keep going all the way up top, which takes a lifetime, as you can see, you just keep going and going and going, which I wouldn't recommend, because then there's no like quick way down. Once you're up here, you're kind of stuck up here. No way to get down from here except to go back down the way you came. A lot of these spirals will have one of the super chests that will spawn here. As you can see, evidently it's not guaranteed. So again, I don't think it's worth it to walk all the way up here. It's probably better to just loot what you can when you're in Castle Kandar and get out. Look at that trap. Oh man, this place is massive. Ugh, God, I hate this place. It looks beautiful though. That's what really sucks about it, is like the actual design of this place is amazing. I do want to show you before we leave this area. I just want to give you like a quick tour of where some of the chests and stuff can spawn. I already know what rating I'm going to give this place, so I don't need to like go too deep. There's the pit, by the way. You can't get into it. The pit, you know what, is down there and it'll bang on it, but that's it. Can't actually go into the pit, which is kind of disappointing. I do want to show off the one and only area where you can kite a demon. So if you are really interested in looting this place for some reason, maybe you're playing solo queue and your teammates just won't leave, this is your one and only safe haven. This is it right here. This is the one window in the whole joint that you could use safely. Vault this, and that's it. That's all you got. It is an incredibly safe window, though. So keep that in mind. Like, the demon has to go all the way around to get to you. So this is a very, very, very safe window. I would say very, very safe. It's not as safe as, like, the stuff in Vengeance Village, but it's still relatively safe. So keep that in mind. Look on the map. It's in this area of the keep right here. That's where the window is. It's the one safe zone that you have access to as a survivor. So just letting you know that that's there in case you find yourself stuck here. This is probably controversial. I think this is a D tier looting location. It's just way too dangerous. Like I said, it's gigantic. There's not really anywhere safe to retreat except that place that I talked about. Lots of tight corridors where you could easily get trapped by the demon. You could easily corner yourself when you're fighting a basic unit possession. You could easily get lost and not figure out how to get out of the place. And the kicker too is that, like I mentioned, the dark ones typically spawn around the castle. Not all the time, but it's the most common spawn. There's at least 2 spots near the castle itself where the dark ones spawn. So a lot of times you're going to have to go near that place later in the game anyway. So don't waste time looting it early. If it leads you there anyway and you have to go near it, then you can maybe spend a few seconds looting or something if you need to at that point in the game. If you're low on healing items, low on ammo, you could do that. Otherwise, I would avoid this place altogether. I think it's a really risky, really bad location to try to loot. I would not recommend staying here for very long. Oftentimes you'll spawn here, and like I said, I would just like look around real quick, try to find a gun, a melee weapon, and then just get out. Pick up some stuff on the way out if you need to, but you know, if you're walking by and you see a Shemps, go ahead and pick it up. But outside of that, get out of here as quick as you can. All right, next up we got the smithy. The old smithy, which may or may not be the place where Ash crafted his mechanical hand in Army of Darkness. Yeah, I remember this place. This place does not have a ton of loot. It's got a little bit, I guess. Keep in mind that one of the daggered pages can spawn right there. I don't think there's really anything in the way of like vaulting spots that are great in this area. I think there might be some back there, but decent amount of loot in here. Nothing great. You go over here, there is a window, actually. Not a very safe one. This window, very, very safe. Those two, not safe at all. But this window right here is probably going to be your safe haven if you find yourself stuck back here. But do keep in mind that, I mean, you're out in no man's land out here. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're in the corner of the map, so. Back here, you've got an altar. It's kind of weird. And a light source, but there's not really any loot back here, so I wouldn't recommend even coming back here. There is a car if you need it. There's also a car that I guess sometimes spawns right there, but didn't this time. So the smithy's just average, dude. It's a lot like Pox Pond. I don't think it's like unbearably bad, but it's not great either. So next up, we got the Arthurian outpost down here. I will say one thing about this map. This map is gorgeous. Like, regardless of how you feel about the balance of this map, you're going to get a million different opinions from people on whether or not you think the balance of this map is good or bad or too demon-sided or too survivor-sided or whatever.
Nothing comes close.
But I think the map looks fantastic. They did a great job on the map as far as the aesthetics of it. All right, so around here, as you can see, you got this little canyon area. There's really nothing in here, and it's really easy to get choked in here. I've had it happen to me before, so be careful when going through here. Trap right there. You can come in here. Chest very frequently spawns right there. Very, very easy to get trapped here because you can't get out through here. It looks like you should be able to squeeze through there, but you can't. If you come in here, just keep that in mind, because there's a chance that the demon will wait for you to come in here, lay down that trap, and then as you're trying to leave, trap goes off, possess a unit, and then try to trap you back here. So just something to keep in mind. Very dangerous to loot that. Again, a blue objective can spawn like right around here. Another chest right there. This one probably not as dangerous. Like, yeah, you could get trapped in the tent, but you know, you could go through here. You could just walk right through that rope. So you do have that as an option. Not a lot of loot here, as you can see. Pretty poopy little loot area, but it is very small. So if you come through here and you just loot that tent and then peace out, not bad. Not a bad loot location. So I definitely wouldn't put it like D tier because it's so tiny that it's just, you get in and get out. So I would still say that Arthurian Outpost is C tier. I might even bump that up to B tier depending on how I feel about the rest of these as we keep going forward. I love that feature, by the way, how the cars just like portal in. I hope that gets added to the other map too, by the way. Next up, we got Acton Village. We're going to be acting a fool here because we have to go up to reach this area. Also very easy to drive cars around here because you don't have to worry about trees as much as the other two maps, which is nice. This is a car's paradise map. So you got a chest right here. Weird chest spawn, but just keep that in mind. A couple of windows here. An objective, blue objective can spawn right there. I know because for some reason, this objective always gives my team nightmares. And I've had to like clutch it, solo clutch this like several times. Again, like I pointed out at Pox Pond, you could do one of these little gimmicks right here. And this is a decent way to like kite the demon. If you do something like this, like you could do a little bit of that, get yourself stuck, vault back over. If the demon starts, you could like loop around. If the demon starts to catch up to you, you could vault that just to kind of throw him off. Vault this, come around, do it all over again. This is kind of your safe haven if one of the blue objectives spawns right there. This little area right here is what you're looking at. For loot, not really much in here, as you can see. Little amulet right there. These little like triangle houses. I wish they made exploration mode where you could like disable that, by the way. We got a little weird ritual going on in here. Loot in here is okay, not great. Watch out for that tree. Lots of chest spawns, as you can see in here. We got another triangle house right here with more loot in it. More freaking trees that can be possessed. I think that could be possessed. Like, possessed trees are everywhere, dude. Again, another little area that you could potentially loop a little bit. You can kind of come around here. It's not great, though. It's not even as good as the other one, but you can vault this, which is nice. So this is probably what I would recommend if you do get caught. Like, you could just vault that. They got to go around, vault back over. They got to go around. I think they might be able to break that, though, is the only thing you got to keep in mind. I'm not 100% positive on that, though. So Acted Village, it's okay. I actually am going to move Arthurian Outpost up because I think Acted Village is not as good. It takes a little bit longer to loot. Arthurian Outpost has the benefit of being so small that you're just in and out super quick. So that's what it's got going for it. Acted Village is not as small and is probably close to equally as unsafe. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and bump that one up. Next up, we got old Fort Gort. This is Reddit's favorite looting spot. I hear about Fort Gort a lot. Reddit is in love with Fort Gort. Probably because it rhymes, and Reddit is easily pleased. It's got this nice big spiral gimmick, just like I mentioned at the at Castle Kandar, except this one's kind of busted up. It's got actually pretty decent loot in here. Lots of chest spawns, as you can see and hear. We got a car spawn right there. I don't think there's... I get there's a little bit of loot near the like busted up walls, so you could just kind of walk by here, check it out, see if there's anything worth taking. There's a Shemps right there, so... Another tree, watch out for that.
Good old Shemps.
Whoa! Watch out for that trap.
Nothing left to lose.
Come up here. So I don't know if things are different in exploration mode. It might be. I've been told, well, I haven't been told this. I've seen it from randoms who claim that one of the super chests could spawn right there and is guaranteed. But as you can see, it didn't spawn here. So I don't know if that's an exploration mode thing that stopped it from spawning there, or if that's just a thing where that person is wrong. They're probably just wrong, to be honest, but do keep in mind that a super chest can spawn up there. One of the new green chests can spawn up there, so something to consider when you're looting this area. We're going off-roading. A little bit of loot right there, and then far north we got another broken spiral. Or it could be this. I'm not sure. No, it's not this either. So decent loot up top here, but again, you got to be careful because the only way back down is a choke point. As you can see, this map just in general is loaded with loot, and I feel like possibly why that happened is because the map is, with the exception of like this top left area, the map in general is so unsafe for survivors. There's not a lot of windows to vault and stuff, and I feel like to compensate for that, they added 8 billion cars and a ton of loot. And I think, I don't know, they might have overtuned it a little bit. They might have added a little too much loot. All right, so Fort Gort. This is another one that I think is solidly B tier. It's not particularly safe. There's nowhere here that's safe. As far as like windows you can vault. But it does have decent loot. What's really keeping it away from A tier is the fact that there's no windows, and it does take a little bit to loot. But the areas you can loot are really solid loot spots. All these broken spirals are typically going to have some nice chest spawns and a decent amount of loot. And then you got the loot that's along the castle walls that are broken. So overall pretty decent. Gold Tooth Canyon. Look at this thing. Look at this death trap. So look at the canyon itself. The canyon itself is this super long, narrow area that, you know, can have some chest spawns, but otherwise there's just nothing in there. It can have a couple of chest spawns, I think, on either end of it, but otherwise it's just a death trap. And then you look over here, another little canyon, same sort of thing. There's I guess there's a little loot spawn right there, but overall this place is terrible and you should never loot it. And as a matter of fact, add a row below, new row, blue, whoops, green, F tier. This thing gets its own tier. Don't go here, ever. Don't loot Gold Tooth Canyon. It's literally designed to help the demon kill you. It's almost as if the chests in here are like put there in order to convince you to fall into that trap. So please just don't do it. Don't even loot this area. If you want to like,
Back one by one if I have.
if you want to like come down here and loot that first chest that we saw and then just keep moving on, that's fine, but I wouldn't walk here on foot. So like, let's say you spawn south and you're walking up here because one of the pages is like at the castle. You go ahead and loot that one chest, but do not go up through there, please. Come back out and go around. I'm begging you. Don't actually walk through there. It's awful and will get you killed. So that thing gets its own tier. Next we got Vasquez Cemetery. Another little broken spiral gimmick here, but well, I guess you can go up. There's lots of loot right there. Keep on heading up. Oh, look at that. It takes you all the way to the top. How neat is that? I don't actually know that a green chest can spawn up here. I don't think one can. But, you know, you'd have to play the map 500 times before you could learn every single chest spawn that's possible. But I'm pretty sure there is not a chest spawn up there. Watch out for another one of those stupid possessed trees. Here's a little Easter egg for you. In case you care about that, that alone is going to bump it up a tier. Not really, but Bruce Ramey. I don't know what, 1811 to 1870. I don't know if those dates are significant in any way, but someone might know. Tell me. If you know, tell me. I think that's the only Easter egg, by the way. All these other ones either don't say anything or say something just like kind of generic. Over here, you could get a little chest spawn. Watch out for that trap skis. Little amulet here, probably not. Oh, there's another Bruce Ramey right there. What the heck? It's just not as cool looking. Maybe they're all over the place. I don't know. This place is dog water though, because it's so wide open, and as you can see, there's nowhere for you to really like go. Chest spawn right there. Light source there. Watch out for that tree. It's gonna get me. Oh, it didn't get me this time. This place is really bad. This place reminds me a lot of like Misty Groves, where if you're out here, it's kind of just the middle of nowhere. There's just not a whole lot here. Vasquez Cemetery. This should, oh, gross. That should be D tier. This is F tier, so I don't confuse anybody. Vasquez Cemetery, not very good because there's just not a whole lot out here. And if you get a demon, that knows how to flip cars, then you're in big trouble, because getting out of here on foot is a nightmare. If they start hitting you with possessed units and you don't have a car to get out of here, you're going to be in really big trouble. A blue objective, dagger pages, could actually spawn right here. The loot here is actually pretty decent. Very high volume of like loot spawns in this area, as you can see. Tons of amulets, ammo, all this good stuff. Chest spawn there, chest spawn there. More loot back here. I don't think I've ever actually been all the way out here. I don't think there's anything that takes you out here as far as objectives go. Maybe in one of the map pages could spawn all the way back here, I'm not sure, but light source right there. And again, I wouldn't recommend like coming all the way out here. It's kind of dangerous, and if the demon knows how to flip cars, he's just going to take that car and flip it, and then you're screwed. So again, Palace Ruins, I kind of have it on the same tier as Vasquez Cemetery. I think that's D tier. Now, this is my tier list, but I want you to know, and also, man, these ones are both really good. I think either one of these could potentially be S tier, by the way. Windmill is just such a high volume of loot, such a small area, and then you have that safe window. I'm fine with the tier list, but I do want to say this. This place in general, because you might be saying, well, what do you mean you got this stuff in D tier and F tier? The Castle Kandar as a map is OP. It's loaded with loot. It's loaded with cars. That's true. I'm just comparing loot locations to each other within this map. This map as a whole is probably a better map than the other two for loot, specifically for survivors. And like I said, I think the reason the devs probably did that is because the map is fairly small. There's not very many safe locations for you to like kite the demon. Dude, that was seconds before disaster. And so I think to compensate for that, they probably upped the loot significantly and then upped the amount of car spawns. So did they overcompensate? Well, you could discuss that in the comments. But this is my loot location tier list. Hopefully this helps you when you're going through Castle Kandar to decide what you should be prioritizing and what areas you should be avoiding. But if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you watching. And let me know in the comments what you think about this new map, what you think about the tier list. Give me all your respectful thoughts. Let's talk about it. And subscribe, please, as always, if you made it this far and haven't already. And thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you next time.